BloodStorm.
Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. On today's show, we're taking a look at one of my favorite underappreciated arcade games, and that's BloodStorm, brought to us by the good folks over at Strata and Incredible Technologies back in 1994. If those names sound familiar, it's because they also worked on Street Fighter the movie, and of course Time Killers, another favorite of mine and the precursor to BloodStorm. I'd consider it a follow-up, not exactly a sequel, a different storyline and characters this time around, but the general idea of the game stays pretty much the same. Time Killer's big claim to fame at the time of its release was the violence and the ability to dismember your opponents so that they didn't have any arms. Pretty cool, but BloodStorm definitely ups the ante with full-on dismemberment including arms and legs, and yes, you can even get a limbless victory. Each of the characters has several finishing moves, as do many of the stages that you fight on. BloodStorm is a 5-button game with 2 buttons for the arms and legs and a block button, not unlike Mortal Kombat. One really interesting feature of this game was the ability to gain your opponent's weapons after each victory, and the game would actually let you save these loadouts with a password system so that you could pick back up and play the next time you were at the machine. A lot of games did this down the line, but if I'm thinking back, personally, I think BloodStorm was like the first game that I can remember fighting game-wise that let you actually save your characters with a password, which was pretty cool. The characters themselves are kind of basic, and in my opinion, not as memorable as those in Time Killers. The graphics here look decent for the time, and there's lots of color and some decent background detail. Not a ton of stages to look at, and some of them do look pretty phoned in. Even still, you've got your basic archetypes here, like the fire guy, the ice guy, etc. Being able to steal those powers definitely helps to keep things fresh, but it would have been nice to have a bit more in the way of stage variety. At least the level finishers are all pretty cool for the most part. The sound effects and music are excellent here, and definitely one of the high points of the game. BloodStorm is a tough game to ignore in a crowded arcade. The music is heavy and full of great bass. My only complaint is that sometimes the sound effects are a bit loud and they kind of cut through. I have to say though, I love when you win with a finishing move and get that awesome double bass pedal effect. Can't help but get pumped for the next fight. The AI is a little bit all over the place. Sometimes you can just combo the living hell out of the computer and just tear right through them. Other times, seemingly at random, they'll come after you with reckless abandon and refuse to even let you get off a move before tearing your head off. Luckily, both you and your opponent can be finished inside of each round, so no big deal. Put that head back on, I guess, and get on to the next round. The pre-boss and final bosses are about as goofy as you could possibly be, looking like some sort of rejected models from Rise of the Robots or something. Hey, at least the gargoyle is easy. You can kind of like duck in the corner and just uppercut him over and over and over again until he turns into a skull and then explodes for some reason. Whatever. The most important thing here is that BloodStorm is fun. A lot of fun. If you take it with a grain of salt, there's a great time to be had here. If secrets are your thing, there's quite a few to look for and find. Several hidden characters and stages to check out. Back when I bought my Jamacab, BloodStorm was one of the first games that I went looking for. It was slated to be released for the PS1 and Saturn, but eventually was cancelled and never ended up seeing the light of day. If you're interested in picking up a board, it's really not too expensive, just make sure you get the right revision. I recommend version 2.1 and up since they have the best movesets and some other content that's not in the version 1 releases. And if you still have any doubt that BloodStorm is worth playing or not, just ask Johnny Cage. Seems like he's pretty into it.
Win!
As always, guys, I'd like to thank you all for watching, subscribing, and of course commenting, and until next time, stay classic.